In 1994, this man sat in a converted garage, packing cardboard boxes by hand on a cold concrete floor. Today, his personal fortune floats around $250 billion. Most people think Jeff Bezos built his empire simply by being the world's favorite online store. But retail is a low-margin, brutal business that has bankrupted thousands of companies. Bezos didn't get rich selling you books or household items. He did it by converting consumer habits into a massive corporate tax shelter, weaponizing market manipulation tactics, and building a digital monopoly you cannot escape. This is the financial architecture of how Jeff Bezos engineered the ultimate wealth machine. To understand the rise of Jeff Bezos, you have to look past the customer obsession marketing and examine a concept called regulatory arbitrage. Finding a legal loophole in the law and scaling a multi-billion-dollar business inside it before the government can close it. When Bezos left Wall Street in 1994, he didn't pick Seattle as Amazon's headquarters by accident. He specifically chose Washington State because it had a relatively small population compared to California or New York. Why did this matter? Because of a 1992 Supreme Court ruling called Quill Corp. Versus North Dakota. The court ruled that mail order and internet companies did not have to collect state sales tax from customers unless the company had a physical presence, like a store, office, or warehouse, in that customer's state. Bezos realized that by operating entirely out of a low-population state like Washington, he could sell books to customers in California, New York, and Texas with a built-in 8% to 10% price advantage over local brick-and-mortar bookstores. Amazon wasn't necessarily more efficient or cheaper at buying books from publishers. It was simply legally shielded from state taxes. For the first 15 years of the internet boom, Amazon weaponized this tax loophole to starve traditional retailers like Borders and Barnes and Noble of cash flow. By the time the Supreme Court finally closed the loophole decades later, it was too late. Amazon had already captured the infrastructure, the user data, and the dominant market share. But a price advantage only gets you customers. To become a billionaire, you need to turn those customers into a permanent loop. For the first 20 years of its existence, Amazon famously made almost zero net profit. Wall Street looked at the balance sheets and screamed that the company was a bubble. But Bezos was playing a completely different game, predatory capital reinvestment. In standard business, if a company makes $100 million in profit, it pays corporate income tax on that $100 million. Whatever is left over is either given back to shareholders as dividends or sits in a bank. Bezos loathed this system. He understood that net profit is a choice, not an inevitability. Every single dollar of free cash flow Amazon generated was immediately and aggressively respent before the tax year ended. Bezos poured billions into building massive fulfillment centers, buying a fleet of delivery trucks, and purchasing thousands of robots. Under US tax law, business expenditures used to expand operations can drastically lower your taxable income. By intentionally keeping Amazon's net profit at or near zero, Bezos ensured that Amazon paid virtually nothing in federal income taxes for years, all while the physical value of the company's infrastructure was compounding exponentially. Shareholders didn't care about the lack of dividends because the value of their stock was skyrocketing. And because Bezos held a massive percentage of that stock, his net worth grew by billions, completely untouched by the tax code. But retail was still just the bait. To build a truly bulletproof empire, Bezos needed to weaponize the platform itself against the very people who used it. In the early days, Amazon sold everything itself. But Bezos realized that buying inventory, storing it, and risking that it wouldn't sell was expensive. So he introduced the Amazon third-party marketplace. He invited millions of independent small businesses to sell their products directly on Amazon.com. To these small businesses, it looked like a golden opportunity to access Amazon's massive customer base. To Bezos, it was a data mining goldmine and a brilliant way to offload risk. Amazon began charging these sellers a fee for every item sold, a fee to store the products in Amazon warehouses via Fulfillment by Amazon, and a fee to buy ads on Amazon just so customers could find their products. Today, Amazon takes an average cut of over 45% of every dollar a third-party seller makes on the platform. But it gets more calculated. By hosting these sellers, Amazon gained access to real-time data on exactly what products were selling, at what price, and to which demographics. If a third-party seller discovered a highly profitable niche product, say a specific type of laptop stand or electronics cable, Amazon's algorithms would instantly flag it. Amazon would then manufacture the exact same product under its own private label, like Amazon Basics, rank its own product at the top of the search results, and undercut the original seller. Bezos didn't have to guess what consumers wanted. He forced his own business partners to pay for the market research, and then he cut them out. In 2006, Amazon faced a unique technical challenge. To handle the massive, chaotic surge of traffic during the holiday shopping season, they had to build out an immense amount of server infrastructure. The problem was that for 9 months out of the year, those expensive servers sat completely idle. Instead of letting them gather dust, Bezos made a pivot. He decided to rent out that computing power to other companies. They called it Amazon Web Services, or AWS. Today, AWS is the invisible backbone of the modern internet. If you stream a movie on Netflix, book a room on Airbnb, browse Reddit, or join a corporate Zoom call, you are using Amazon's infrastructure. While the e-commerce store is what the public sees, AWS is what actually generates the real money. AWS frequently accounts for over 50% to 70% of Amazon's total operating profit, despite bringing in only a fraction of the retail storefront's raw revenue. Bezos essentially built a digital toll booth on the information superhighway. He doesn't care which internet startups succeed or fail, because almost all of them have to pay rent to Amazon just to stay online. This high-margin tech engine provides the ultimate safety net, funding his entry into every other industry on Earth, from groceries with Whole Foods to entertainment with MGM. To maintain the blistering speed of Amazon Prime's delivery network, Bezos had to solve the final piece of the wealth puzzle, the human cost. This requires understanding a concept known as a monopsony, a market structure where there is only one buyer for a product or service. In Amazon's case, they became the dominant buyer of logistics labor in hundreds of cities across the world. When Amazon opens a massive fulfillment center in a working-class region, it often becomes the largest employer in the county. By utilizing algorithmically driven management systems, Amazon tracks every single movement of its warehouse employees, monitoring time off task down to the second. The company deliberately engineered a high-turnover labor model. Bezos historically believed that a stagnant workforce led to complacency. By keeping wages hovering just above local minimums and pushing productivity metrics to their absolute limits, Amazon extracts maximum output per dollar spent on labor. This hyper-optimization of the supply chain cut delivery times down to hours, making it impossible for traditional brick-and-mortar stores or smaller e-commerce sites to compete. Bezos didn't just outthink the retail market, he outmuscled the physical reality of logistics, translating human efficiency directly into equity growth. Unlike other modern billionaires who retain nearly 100% of their paper wealth in their original companies, Jeff Bezos has executed one of the largest systematic equity liquidations in human history. Over the last decade, Bezos has systematically sold off tens of billions of dollars of his Amazon stock. But he isn't cash hoarding that money in a bank account. He is converting his digital retail winnings into physical assets and heavy industry. Bezos has openly stated that the only way he can see to effectively deploy that much wealth is by funding his private aerospace venture, Blue Origin, which he funds by liquidating roughly $1 billion of Amazon stock every single year. By systematically converting his stock options into physical real estate, media assets like the Washington Post, and capital-intensive space infrastructure, he is insulating his long-term fortune from the volatility of the stock market. If a massive tech crash hits Wall Street, a digital stock portfolio can vanish overnight. But thousands of acres of real estate, massive launch pads and fizzy